Hey, it's Benji from All Good Folks. If you love our music and you want to support Upbeat's amazing community of artists, upgrade to Premium today and help us keep creating great new tracks for you.
Looking just before the show starts. Oh, we got rid of it completely. There we go. So I am looking for a song that, what out of these that you guys want to hear every week that tells you, oh man, we're about to listen to the HOMES Politicast. I know I have the opener, but looking for a song to just play while you're waiting that I can put on loop that you will be into. So, here is Funk Tank. Let me know what you think. All right. That last one was Play. So, yeah. Let me know in the comments. Funk Tank or Play. And I'm back. And it's the weekend. And I've actually, I'm doing the thing on the right day. All right. So Grand Valley trains many of the teachers that will be teaching your children. Yes, yours. Their 21-day racial equity challenge is questionable, and their training from LGBTQ center is troubling. We will discuss the problems with the training of our teachers. Also, the mayor of Grand Haven is under fire at the moment. What's that about? Find out here. Plus, there are more school boards for you to consider. Grand Haven and Allendale school boards now have endorsements. Garlin Gilchrist is making bank in dubious ways. Charlie Leduff has that story. And finally, Walter Mack Davis shares his wisdom with us all. We'll look into all that today. I'm Don. This is the HOMES Politicast. All right. So I am here on the weekend, actually, which is great. Sometimes last week I didn't make it on the weekend. So here we are looking at, I promised you a couple weeks ago that I would give you, coffee burps, that I would give you audio from a local college. I kind of already said it, Grand Valley. So I said that I would give you audio and that you would be able to hear exactly what they're teaching the people that are going to be teaching your children. Okay, parents, take note. You already know that the school system is pushing a bunch of crazy things on you, right? That's why many parents have decided to homeschool. That's why many parents have decided to put their children in a private school. There's a lot of that. But private school teachers are getting this same treatment many times. It may be easier for you to control your private school. The teachers may be fired more quickly for promoting this stuff, but this is what your teachers are being taught. No, not all of them. I'm going to go, my mentor teacher is amazing. Just absolutely incredible. I love the guy. He's not on board with any of this LGBTQ stuff. He's a great teacher. There are other teachers at the school that I am at that are on board with all this stuff. There are administrators, there are librarians that are all on board with, all the books and all the LGBTQ stuff. So, first, I want to show you exactly what your teachers are being taught. So, when you enroll at Grand Valley, you can go, oh, look at that, gvsu.edu, 21-day racial equity challenge as a pre-service educator. What is a pre-service educator? Well, that just means we are teachers' assistants, right? We are getting our pre-teaching work done. So, there it is, your 21-day racial equity challenge as a pre-service educator. Where does that take you? Well, it takes you to this gem of a site that I'm about to show you. 21-day equity challenge.com/21-day-racial. Okay, you can see the URL here. If you're listening on audio, well, you're just going to have to listen and get some of the stuff that I'm getting now. 21-day racial equity challenge gives us a spreadsheet, right? You can either read, listen, watch, notice, connect, engage, act, reflect, inspire. Those are a bunch of check boxes that you can mark. You mark one for each day based on what you do. Gosh, I love coffee. So, as you're going through this 21-day racial equity challenge, you can read. Look at all these articles. Your silence is a knee on my neck. Video classism, COVID-19, and your students. Talking to kids about protesting. 5 things I want my kids to know. Avoiding racial equity detours. Why some parents don't come to school. I was a racist teacher and didn't even know it. Black and alone in an honors college. So these are the kinds of titles of articles that you get from this 21-day racial equity challenge. You can also listen to some great podcasts. Teaching While White. Man, great one. The 1619 Project podcast. We all know how well sourced and how accurate the 1619 Project is, right? Yeah, I'm sure we do. Student podcast on racial justice. Wow, this is some good stuff. This is some awesome stuff that your pre-service teachers are forced to look at. Now, most of them love looking at it. They have already swallowed the hook, line, and the sinker from the media about how America is a horribly racist place, and they've probably gotten it from a few of their teachers too, who also probably had to do all this. And it's not just students that are already predisposed to this. I have a couple friends that went through this teaching program, and they are solid Christians, solid conservative people, but even they would go through this, and they started to question what their, is this really such a bad thing? Is it really so bad to be inclusive and to love all children, because that's how they package it, right? Colin Kaepernick, great, just a solid source for some real scholarly work. I'm so glad that Colin Kaepernick is being held up by your college as a very credible source. Now, you may think I'm making a big deal out of this, and I kind of am, because these are the kinds of things that your pre-service teachers, again, are going through. So now we get to the seminar, the big old LGBTQ seminar. We're going to listen to a few clips. These are extended. You're going to be listening to a lot of clips, and I'm going to post the full thing for you. It's 2 hours long. I don't think I wanted a show that was 2 hours of just this lady talking. This, what's her name? Oh, that's the wrong one. I might be able to get her name, though, from this one. Okay, no, I can't. That is not the correct one. Let me pull up the other one here. Where'd it go? There it is. Perfect. I know this one has her name on it. So, we're on 8 of 15. We'll go back to the top. So, from the LGBTQ Resource Center, we have Callie Youngman. She, her pronouns, in case you're wondering. So, this lady gave the presentation on how we are going to relate to LGBTQ students, how we're going to support them. And you can listen to some of these clips and you're going to say, well, that sounds pretty reasonable. We want to help children to succeed. But just listen to how she frames the need for justifying herself and doing the things that she suggests. Here we go.
Okay, so some grounding concepts. We won't get into like all of these today, but like as you go through it and you're trying to add some context to this conversation, these are important contexts to understand, right? And we have a wealth of history, right, and a wealth of data, and we've got a lot of evidence, and we know what happens when the policy climate is either silent or hostile towards LGBTQ students, faculty, stakeholders, right? But what happens when policy climate starts being supported? What happens when you have an entire staff that is fully engaged, an entire building with all the adults in this space fully engaged, right?
So let's just...
we've got a lot of evidence, and we know what happens when the policy climate is either silent or hostile towards...
So we know what happens. And of course, that's bad, right? When she says that, all the students in the room say, oh, yeah, that's bad stuff happens when we're silent or hostile. Now, I don't know any climates that are hostile toward LGBTQ students anymore. Maybe there's some in like rural redneck, 200 student population places. I don't know. But I haven't seen any of that in the school that I'm at. We've got a kid that wears a pride pin to class every day, and I'm not hostile toward him. I treat him with the same respect. He's got fingernail polish on, whatever. But I'm not going to push this stuff in my classroom. So we know what happens. This is about as well documented as Colin Kaepernick's 18-minute spiel that I had to listen to. So we know what happens. Now, let's hear her talk about how anti-LGBTQ violence is not needed, doesn't need justification, because there's violence everywhere. Here we go.
Big idea here, again, beyond just imagining what could be. But from a foundational standpoint, there hasn't really been any argument over whether or not like anti-LGBTQ violence, discrimination, victimization, whether or not that's happening.
There hasn't been any argument over it, whether it's happening. Yeah, because there's been like one case of it, in the past 5 years. Our culture cracks down on people that commit violence against LGBTQ students and people, it becomes a hate crime, a federal offense. So yeah, we just don't need to document this. Of course it's happening. Just believe us, it's happening. Stop questioning it. It's all this. This is violence, and your silence is also violence. We continue.
Right? Like, and I don't need to go through the stats. Like, stats are out there, right? It's just
stats are out there, right? I feel like I'm not a great public speaker, but I'm glad I don't say right after everything I say. That's all.
Like, the big question is whether or not there's anything in our Constitution, right? Anything in our ethical standards as a profession, as a country, I guess, and anything in our ethos, right? Our sense of morality as humans that should propel us to interrupt and try to, make that happen less. Does that make sense, y'all?
So yeah, I guess if you're gonna have a 3-hour or 2-hour seminar to tell me to stop violence against people, like, we can just treat these people as people, give them the same respect as everybody else. But that's not what we want. We want affirmation. We want people to feel like this is the norm. So we continue. I'm not going to play this whole clip. It's 2 minutes. We're just going to go to the policy climate and see what Miss what is her last name? See what Callie has to say about the policy climate.
Okay, so some grounding concepts. We won't get into like all of these today, but like as you go through it and you're trying to add some context to this conversation, these are important contexts to understand, right? And we have a wealth of history, right, and a wealth of data, and we've got a lot of evidence, and we know what.
We got a wealth of history and data and evidence and all this stuff. Like, I'm not going to show you any of it, but it's out there. Trust me, it is.
Happens when the policy climate is either silent or hostile towards LGBTQ students, faculty, stakeholders, right? But what happens when the policy climate starts being supportive? What happens when you have an entire staff that is fully engaged, an entire building with all the adults in this space fully engaged, right?
So what does happen when you have all the adults fully engaged? Well, we know. We've been testing this out, and we've been pushing schools in this direction, and test scores have dropped. I don't think anything good has come out of it. But again, we don't have any data or statistics from this lady, so who can say? So she has us do some research, which is interesting. Let's listen to what her definition of research is.
So quick 2-minute drill. Get on your phones, little iPads, whatever Google machine you got. What is happening out there in the world?
Take out your Google machine.
Okay, when it comes to LGBTQ inclusion or exclusion in our schools.
So, I think a little bit.
Right, it's just like the big question is whether or not there's anything in our Constitution, right? Anything in our ethical standards.
Okay, so that came just before the anti-LGBTQ violence justification. So she has us take out our Google machines, and here's what some of the students found.
Yeah, so Utah, we're going to pass a Don't Say Gay bill. They just recently passed a bill banning transgender student athletes from participating in a sport. Okay, for the entire state of Utah, sorry, slip up there, for the entire state of Utah, right, close to 200,000 youth participating in high school sports How many of you think we're trans? Or at least out as trans?
All right. So there it is. The Don't Say Gay bill, which I've played on, or I've shown on this podcast, on my YouTube channel, the text from the Florida bill. There's nothing about policy. There's nothing about not saying gay. But of course, if you're listening to the show, you probably know that. So one more just clip from this lady, and then we'll look through some of the information that she gave to college students.
Okay. Yeah. So requiring schools to call home, right? Send information home if a student comes to school saying, "Hey, I want to go by different pronouns. Here's the name I want to go by." Not allowing that, potentially opening students up to some dangerous situations.
Okay. Yeah. So if you tell your students about it just cuts out because I didn't cut off the end where there's no audio. It's just silence for this last part. Again, I will post the full audio from that, but again, we can't tell parents what's going on at in your child's psychology. We can't tell them what's going on with their pronouns, or if they want to go by a different name, because that may make a dangerous situation. So again, she doesn't outright say go behind the parents' backs and just do this anyway, but she does, without any data or any kind of justification, she does say that this is going to be good for the students, right? You can see it right here. Students feel more supported. Safer schools, right? In what ways do you think LGBTQ affirming policies and practices could impact our K through 12 schools? It helps create respectful individuals. They will make the students in the community feel safer, and also helps all students understand equity and respecting others who may be different than themselves. Break away from heteronormativity to be more accepting of people and how they want to be identified. Have more of an open mind, right? These are all things that they just dump in our laps. They don't. Again, they don't. Let's check this out. Let's see what this is. My latest autoethnography. Let's see what kind of data she has here. Oh, it's 3 pages. Yeah, so that's the data we get. That's the justification. You can go through and look at that. Ooh, I didn't want to do that. Let's see. Is there a link that I can give you? Oh, yeah. So I'll put this link in the tab. Or in the comments. You can go ahead and read through this, but if you want, I'll even just scroll through it shortly. But again, there's no science, there's no data, and even if there was, it's not. It just goes against common sense. You don't hold up LGBTQ as the norm and expect society to function well. You don't upend society and then expect it to go well. They just make these claims that, students are happier, allow students to feel comfortable and safe in their classrooms, when in reality, I don't know that it does any of that, because it goes against, common sense. If students are confused about sexuality and gender, they're not going to feel safer. They're going to feel confused, awkward. They're going to feel scared. And it's just not a good situation. And I have about as much data as Callie has presented us so far. So she gives us this list of external barriers, parent or community backlash. Parents will call and they'll come in and they'll talk to us about it at parent-teacher conferences. But she's already said that we don't want to tell the parents about this. So, just in case people find out what you're doing behind the parents' backs, you definitely want to have reasons behind everything you're doing. We want to give our students real world experiences that they can do what they want with. We need to help them understand the world around them. Give them diverse perspectives. They change the nomenclature, they change the wording, they change it so that it's not, confusing students about gender, sexuality, and all this stuff. It's just presenting them with diverse perspectives, whether you parents want it or not. So that is what our teachers are learning. Again, I will post the full things. We'll see if I can get screenshots of all this, because I don't think if I post the link that you'll be able to go to it, because it is kind of Grand Valley specific. All right, so that's what your teachers are learning. So we got the racial equity challenge, the 21-day racial equity challenge. We had the LGBTQ training, and that's taken me, oh my goodness, almost 30 minutes already. Okay, so we're going to look at the school boards, Grand Haven and Allendale. So Allendale School Board, let's see, Allendale School Board. So again, Ottawa Impact, if you like what they're doing, what they're talking about, they talk a lot about having parents in control of what's going on in public schools, rather than mandating, the health department mandating what we're going to do, rather than the Department of Education mandating we're going to do. We should be able to control our schools. Because I've showed you the Department of Education. I've showed you what your teachers want. Some of them. Maybe a majority of them. I'm not sure. But I would say a good percentage of them, at least 40% of your teachers, are on board with this. And trust me, the percentage is growing. Right? I think maybe 5 or 6 people in my whole class of, there were probably about 50 or 60 people in that room with that LGBTQ speaker, and most of them were on board. A good share of them, because they've either been captivated by the philosophy, or they just think that it's just being nice to students. So we want parents in charge, because the teachers aren't going to do us any good. The Department of Education sure isn't. We've seen some of the stuff that they openly say that trans boys should be in the locker room with young ladies, and it's no big deal. So these two conservatives for Allendale School Board are Liz Ramey, Corey Mango. You can go to this website. Looks like you can get a little bit of information about them. Yeah, it takes you to their page, Corey Mango. So he says it is the natural fundamental right of parents and legal guardians to determine and direct the care, teaching, and education of their children. This is Michigan's revised school code. So he's quoting. We go to Restoring Ottawa, and they quote these things. They put up evidence. I on this show, I make claims about what's going on at some of your colleges, and I post evidence. I bring with me what I'm claiming. Unlike the LGBTQ seminar instructor, just kind of hey, Google this. Just go Google it. No, that's not what we want. We want what is the standard. It's right here, Michigan Revised School Code 380.10. So that is Corey Mango. You can look at these two vetted school board candidates at allendaleschoolboard.com. I believe there is also one for Grand Haven. Yeah, I think I showed it to you already. So, I'm going to check. Yep, okay. Grand Haven School Board, Roger Williams, Thomas Hoekstra, Tommy Van Hill. Nice beard, dude. I like it. So, I'm actually going to be talking to these three, hopefully, in the next week. We'll have some clips from them. I'm going to be asking them some questions about their run, about their opponents. We'll see if their opponents will contact me. I'll reach out to them, but I'm not hopeful that I'll get any response. So there's your vetted candidates from the school board. Sorry about that. That was very loud and probably hurt your eardrums. I'm terribly sorry. So next we've got, so you've seen the school boards. We might skip the mayor. We might have to do that because I've got Garlin Gilchrist up here. I didn't advertise this on Facebook or Twitter because I found this like right after I posted everything. But here's Charlie Leduff with the story, and yeah, this is live, so he might use some foul language.
Here's the Gilchrist house. Now, I'm standing at the former residence of Lieutenant Governor Garlin Gilchrist, who bought it from the land bank for a mere $12,000. The law says if you don't have it occupied in 6 months, the city take it back. They didn't take it back from him. They let him sell it to some murky LLC down there in Florida for over $200,000 and let him pocket the money. The law also says if you make a profit on it, you got to split it with the city. But the city made up a rule saying, well, since he put 200 in, he didn't make anything. All right? I said, what about the LLC? Don't they got to fix it up? They said, this is 2 years ago, we're satisfied with the progress. Man, there ain't even walls in this shit. They know why. This is how Gilchrist left it.
So, Garlin Gilchrist bought this house from the city for $12,000, sold it to some LLC in Florida for $200,000. The city said that he had put in $200,000, so he made nothing. That doesn't look like you put $200,000 into it. I'm looking at it, and it looks that way from the bottom, from the top. Like, there is no progress on this thing. It is not livable, but the city's okay with it. So, another instance of Democrats using their power to make money. How is it that Democrats go into government poorer than dirt and they come out richer than any of us? Well, this is how. They're well connected. They are doing dubious things behind the scenes, and it doesn't seem like the government is very good at controlling what they do. So that's just what I got for Garlin Gilchrist. Charlie Leduff reporting on that, doing great work. He's a little vulgar. Doesn't have quite a filter on some of his language. You know, you'll hear F-bombs, and he'll say basically what's on his mind. And the title of his show should kind of tell you that you might get some language that you don't want to hear, but it's good reporting. He is actually a reporter. And he's an independent, leaning left, but I listen to him quite often. I take his reporting seriously, much more seriously than I take the reporting of most of our reporters. So, Charlie Leduff exposing Garlin Gilchrist for money laundering and doing all this illegal stuff, using his position in the government to enrich himself. So, Democrats, there you have it. That is your candidate for, what is he? Lieutenant Governor. And I'm sure that Whitmer is not doing any of that, right? Whitmer is just as pure as the driven snow. All right. So, Mr. Walter Mac Davis from Grand Haven, he gives us some solid wisdom here. Where to begin in dealing with the three Ottawa Impact candidates, Tommy Van Hill, Thomas Hoekstra, and Roger Williams, who are running for election to the Grand Haven School Board. With respect to the first two, there is a disqualifying fact. Both Van Hill and Hoekstra homeschool their children, which is their right, as it is of all Americans who for whatever reason, do not want their children to be subjected to our public school system. It is hardly, however, the basis for seeking a position on the board of a public school. So, interestingly, Walter Davis just disqualifies himself from the ability to speak on this issue. He says that you have to have a child in the school to have a say in how the school goes. So I've seen Walter Davis, and I doubt he has school-age children. He's getting up there he's advanced in years, and I'm sure advanced in wisdom. But if his argument is that you have to have children in the school to be a part of the school process, then he has just demonstrated that he has no credibility whatsoever when talking about who is on the school board. You don't get a say. I'm sorry. That was your standard, not mine, and you opened your article with that. So, we'll continue because we'll give him a little bit more rope and see if he can hang himself a little bit more effectively. So, let's see. With respect to the third candidate, Roger Williams, we need only quote the most preposterous lie from his campaign statements on the Ottawa Impact website. Roger there claims that he worked with librarians and the current director of GH Schools to select books for the library. The fact of the matter is that no one was a greater impediment to the functioning of our libraries than Roger, who treated us to rants at almost every school board meeting, claiming, falsely, that our libraries were littered with porn as per the purpose of the board, the superintendent's office, and the teachers, as pedophile purveyors of porn to groom our children for deviant sexual behavior, thus meriting, in Roger's view, prosecution. So he doesn't provide any when I have Substacks from Restoring Ottawa, they usually have some links here. They have emails. Now you can go through this art. I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's filled with just claims. Betsy DeVos. These three school board candidates want Betsy DeVos to get enough cash for her 19th yacht. Right. That is why they're running for school board. We're going to be asking them about how much they want Betsy DeVos to become more enriched. We're going to ask them if they want public schools to be failing and to go away. That's something that we're going to ask them about. Now, he doesn't seem to be too, Mr. Mac Davis, Walter Davis, doesn't seem too interested in talking to the candidates, but he's got a lot here. So if you want to read it, you're more than welcome to. It's not really well sourced. He doesn't have any proof of what he's saying, so it's kind of hard to take seriously. So he's got, I think I've talked about enough things in this, but we'll go with one more. All three candidates are vetted and approved by Ottawa Impact, having signed a binding contract with that far-right organization. That terrible organization. My goodness. I think I've showed you the contract. That is why, for example, all three refused to appear at the recent League of Women Voters Forum. That was the forum that I posted an entire video of Walter Davis, talking. I gotta say, I wouldn't show up either. They're not exactly nice to Republicans. Walter Davis talks about the Republican Party. He says that they're racist and they're fascist, and that's at a League of Women Voters event. So Walter Davis. You know what? One more. Here we go. So the first and primary Ottawa Impact misrepresentation comes via a quotation out of context from Michigan Revised School Code 380.10. That should sound familiar. We were just on a website that posted, that had that up. He says, in order to give a false and misleading should probably be misleading. In order to give a false and misleading. He probably wanted the word impression in there. We'll just skip over that. The quote seems to imply absolute parental rights over the education system, but immediately preceding an unquoted sentence specifies that parents can be no more than partners. The legal terms of the partnership are spelled out in the complete text of the code. So he doesn't post the code. He just says what he believes is the context of the code. You know what? We will check on that just to really tie the knot in this rope that he has set for himself, really to just put him right in there and see what Michigan Revised School Code 380.10. So let's see if this is misquoted. Legislature, let's see. I don't know what he meant by directly before. That he quoted the entire thing. Section 10. Well, let's check, see if Section 9 says anything else. Let's see if Section 9 is what he was getting at. You know what? We'll just go Michigan Revised School Code, Section 380. That's a specific one, 380.10. And the surrounding texts is what we're looking for. Man, it's kind of hard to bring up. Let's see. Michigan compiled laws. Let's see if we can get to the immediately preceding section. Oh, this is, again, it says excerpt. So we want the entire thing. Let's see. Act of 1976. This is 1995. Let's see if we can get there from here. Okay, so here we go. 380. 380.10. Yeah, I'm not seeing. You know what, Walter? I'm not seeing anything that would disregard what the Ottawa Impact people wrote. In fact, I'm not seeing anything about any of what you talked about. There's some school board membership. I'm sure there's nothing in there that prohibits the school boards from running, or the school board members from running without a child in the district. Let's see. We'll give it a couple more tries. We'll check Article 3 and 380.17. Okay. I wish. Yeah, there's nothing here. So, Walter Davis, for not quoting what you're talking about, the legal terms of the partnership, complete text of the code. Let's see if we can get that complete text. We'll see if we can do Walter's homework for him. Oh, and I apologize for this, folks. Okay, so 380.10. Okay, so definitions. Let's see. Definitions. This is what he's talking about. Oh, there is no definition for partnership in immediately preceding. Let's see. Okay, that's section 380.10. Let's see. Okay. So maybe this is it. Okay, definitions A to C. Let's see, we're looking for definitions L to L to R. So partnership. Oh, it's not there. Huh. Weird. Walter said it was there. We just did a bunch of digging to validate Walter, and I don't see the definition of partnership anywhere in here. They didn't actually define partnership. So Walter will have to clarify what he means in his next posting. But until then, you guys know that you can't trust the media. You can't trust leftists. And to do your homework. All right, that's it for the show today. Tune in next week for goodness knows what else. The state of education and the state of democracy in our country seems to be deteriorating at quite an exponential rate. So with that, I'm doing my best to keep you all informed. So like this video, share it with others, subscribe, hit the notification bell. You'll get notified of when I go live, and you can check me out. Next week, we're going to have some of the school board members. I hope. I'm going to try my darndest to get a hold of them. We'll even get the liberal ones on here if they'll consent to come on a podcast and, share their views and why they're running, but no promises on that one. We'll get the conservatives on here because they want the people to hear them, not the media, who are biased, and will twist all their words. I will not, as I show you every week, I will play it all. And until next week, I'm Anon Don. This is the Homes Politicast. Have a great week.